Hey everybody, and happy Halloween. So, I bet you didn't know that I like to bake cookies. Well, I do. And today I am going to show you how I decorated these Halloween cookies. And yeah, so here's all the stuff I use. Here's a tool called the scribe. If you don't want to run to the store and get one, you can just use a toothpick. And this is a number 2 tip. I generally use a number 1 and a number 2 for the type of stuff that I'm doing today. This is a coupler. It just makes it really easy to switch out your tips. You'll love it. Some bags, of course, tons of them, just because. This right here is used to tie the end of the bag. You can find this all in the craft section at like Michael's or someplace like that. And then some pretty cool gel colors. I use gel paste of different kinds. This one you can find on Amazon for really inexpensive. And then we'll need to get some meringue powder. This is what I usually use, but it's a little more expensive than this one. And this one is found in Michael's. Either type is fine. And then of course you'll need water and press and seal, and here are the cookie cutters that I'm using. This is found in like almost every store that sells this kind of stuff. And you can't forget powdered sugar. I have tons of the stuff, and yeah, lots of powdered sugar. So let's get this icing going. So first, in a stand mixer, that's the easiest way to do this. You're going to want to put in 4 cups of powdered sugar along with 3 tablespoons of your meringue powder. And what I like to do is just go ahead and give that a spin to mix it up a little bit before I add my water. Now, you don't need very much water at all. I am starting this out with 5 tablespoons of warm water, and then you'll go from there. And we're just gonna mix, 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 and mix, mix, mix. This should mix for probably around 5 to 7 minutes, depending on how fast your blender is or how fast your mixer is. And if yours gets like mine and is like pasty and not at all like icing, then that just means you need to add some more water. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with mine. So in all, I probably added about 7 tablespoons of water instead of just 5. But you know, the more you do this, the more you learn the consistency it needs to be. You want to mix this until you get stiff peaks, and this is exactly what it looks like. Alright, so that made about 3 cups of icing, and so we're going to get the color going. I'm going to start off with black. Our icing is white, so getting it to be black is going to take quite a bit of color. Gel colors definitely are more condensed and are stronger than, say, liquid color, but still, because it's so much white in here, we're really going to have to work with it to get it to the color that I want it at. I will say that sometimes you have to add a lot more than you think. And just keep going. Just keep going till you get where you want to be. Now I'm just mixing and mixing and mixing, and I'm going to speed this up because you don't need to watch me mix for like 5 minutes. But I really, really wanted a deep, deep black, and I think I got pretty close to it. You also want to pay really close attention to the consistency of your icing. There is something called flood consistency and then something called piping consistency. And I like to put mine somewhere in between, which means that I can outline my shape and fill it in with the same icing. I like to make it easy, and I also don't like that line to show around the cookie. I'll show you what I'm talking about. The bats that I do, I will do with the outline. So here I'm going to show you a cool little trick to keep your icing really neat. This is the press and seal, and you want to make sure the sticky side is up, and that's where you're going to put your icing. Just dump it right on there in the middle, and then you're going to fold it up in there sort of, and this is what we're going to use to put inside our piping bags. This makes it so that you can reuse your disposable piping bags if you want. If you're using reusable piping bags, it makes it a lot easier to clean up. You can also store your icing in these, which is a really, really cool thing to do. And you have them ready to go and ready to ice. So I'm just going to speed through here, but just a little note. When making white icing, add white color to it. Sometimes the icing is a little bit of a yellow tinge, so adding white really helps to make it bright. So I'm just going to go ahead and speed through the other colors that I'm mixing. Alright, so let's get these babies iced. This is how you put the coupler in the pastry bag if you've never done this before. Kind of figure out how fat you need it to be by putting it in there, and then just clip the ends. Now is where we're going to put that nifty little icing wrap into the pastry bag. Sorry, the video's cut off a little bit, but I think you get the idea. So we're going to stuff it in here, and then we're going to take the end and just pull it on out. And I'm going to put the tie on the end of the pastry bag. You don't absolutely have to do it. It just makes it a lot easier to deal with, and you don't have to keep twisting at the end to keep your icing from coming out. Okay, so now we're going to clip that off, and then I'm going to put the tip on and tie up the coupler, and voila, there we go. So I'm going to start with these ghost cookies. Now, why am I putting black on a ghost? Ha 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 ha. Right, ghosts are generally white, but they have black eyes. And this is just a cool little trick to kind of make the eyes look like they're sunk in a little bit. So you're just going to flatten out your black icing really thin in the top area. I probably should have made this spot a little bit bigger just so I had more room. And now here we go with my bats. So remember when I was talking about how I don't like the outline? Well, here it is. So I'm outlining this, and I'm going really slowly because I do not have a very steady hand. But the key with outlining is not touching the cookie with the tip of your pastry bag or with your tip. You want to just hover right above and kind of let the icing stick to the cookie itself. I'm doing this kind of upside down, which I guess doesn't really matter, but it was kind of awkward. So the reason why I ended up having an outline on my cookies is because I let this dry first. If I were to go ahead and flood it while it was still wet on the top, then you wouldn't really see that outline. And but I'll show you more of that in another cookie that I do. Okay, so the next step is to flood the cookies. That just really means cover the top. So flooding means we're filling in the inside and putting a uniform layer on. And so that's what I'm doing here. Now, I'm still using my #1 tip. I don't know if I said that before. I used the #1 tip to outline it. And I'm still using it right now just because I wasn't thinking to change it out. But because I have that coupler on, it's really easy to change the tip to something wider. You could do a 2 or 3, something like that, just to make it easier to flood it. And I'm using my scribe tool to cover any open spots and to get any bubbles out. You want to make very sure, you want to be very careful about filling it, making sure it's all the way in. If you don't have a scribe tool, go ahead and just use a toothpick. Here's my little cat. Notice the little ear part. I just kind of let the icing extend just a little bit to cover that. And yeah, filling it in all the way. It's really simple. Just keep going over and over. The same thing goes with everything. So the pumpkins. notice that I'm leaving like an open section. The reason why I'm doing that is because I want to show those little like humps or bumps or ridges in the pumpkin. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to let the icing dry a little bit and then go back over it. And it's going to look like, like a quilt, or it's just going to help differentiate the sections even though they're the same color. So I made my candy corns, and after I made them, I realized I went in the wrong color order. But that's okay, you get the point, right? It's supposed to be yellow, orange, white instead of orange, yellow, white. But yeah. So anyway, back to the pumpkins. I let them dry for just a few minutes while I did my candy corns. And you can see what I'm talking about, how you can see the difference in the sections, but it's all the same color. So you can do this with anything. This technique can be used with anything. And so, think outside the box when you're creating your own cookie. Now we need to give these little bats some eyes and some fangs. And to do that, I'm just using a toothpick. All I did was dab the tip of my toothpick in a little bit of the yellow icing and dotted some eyes on there. I did the same thing with the white icing and the fangs. And yeah, that was it. So to get this brown icing, I just added the brown food coloring to some of the leftover orange. I only have a few of the pumpkin cookies, so I really didn't want to make a whole new batch of icing just for a little teensy bit of green. And I also didn't want to put it in a piping bag because, yeah, I didn't feel like going through all of that for like 3 stems. So here I am using a toothpick. And all you want to do is dip your toothpick in your icing and carefully apply it to your section. Of course, if it was any bigger than this, I would have just piped it on there and made it a whole lot easier for myself. But this is a cool little way to do it, in a pinch. Okay, so here are my little tombstones. I'm going to go ahead and just flood it in white icing, and then I'm going to go in and give it a little marble look. I want to first make sure I have a nice, flat, clean surface, and then, yeah, let's get to it. So to get that marble look, I'm going to take my toothpick and dip it in the black icing. All you do is start at a corner or anywhere really, but I'm starting at my corners and just drag it through. Now right now it doesn't look like much, but when I take the clean in and go through and just kind of drag it through, you'll see that I'm creating veins. You can use this technique really in so many ways, but I really love it for this marble look on these tombstones. And I'm just going to go and sporadically put it throughout there. Now I'm going to outline it once it's dry to the touch and, make it look more like an actual tombstone. You can write whatever you want, but obviously I'm a little bit of a crooked writer. All right, and that is it. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know down below. And thanks for watching and subscribe. Thank you so much.